Alright.
Alright, you white knight lowing bastards. Here is Paladin DPS build. All of the builds will be tested on veteran difficulty, and I'm gonna try to do fights solo so that you can see these builds at their absolute best. There will be mistakes in builds. These are not maxed out builds. First of all, I won't bother with gear because there's so much gear in this game that it's ridiculous. So pointing you towards a specific weapon that you actually needed or a specific armor would be ridiculous and waste of everyone's time. So let's get started. This is the Paladin. These are the stats. Race doesn't matter, it's up to you what kind of a character you want to play, so I won't bother with that as well. Instead, what's important here is the subclass. This is single class Paladin, and subclass will be Bleak Walkers. Bleak Walkers change Flames of Devotion, so they deal now additional corrode damage and applies Sickened Affliction to targets. We're gonna use that to our maximum. We don't need resolve here because we are not buffing our teammates and we are not trying to out-tank the enemy. We are actually trying to kill them as fast as possible. Intellect, I went with slightly above the average level just so that I can get more ability duration. It is optional, you don't have to do this, but I like this setup. Perception mainly because of the accuracy, dexterity because of the action speed, and might is the primary stat because our goal is to do as much damage as possible. From the active skills I went with all of the points in athletics so that I can save myself with second wind ability. That's really it. For weapon proficiencies, go for Greatsword. Greatsword gives you savage attack. It reduces your accuracy, but it increases damage by 30%. That's huge. That's why I added some points to perception, so that I can reduce some of the lost accuracy. Obviously, abilities here are the most important thing. This is what I did. Flames of Devotion is your main single target DPS ability. It is extremely important. Combined with Sworn Enemy, it will drop any enemy really goddamn fast. Use Zealous Aura, upgraded to Exalted Focus so that you convert some hits to crits. Eternal Devotion upgrade will give you bonus burn damage after you use Flames of Devotion. Next to this upgrade over here, Scion of Flame, it becomes even more powerful. I've upgraded Sworn Enemy to Sworn Rival, because if the rival is defeated, the Zeal cost is refunded. Zeal is extremely important here because we're going to use a lot of it. Definitely use Glorious Beacon and also go for Inspired Beacon for an upgrade, because Inspired Beacon makes enemies around you take 40% increased damage. From other abilities here I went with Abjuration in case I need to fight with spirits or summoned creatures. Now this is a fantastic bloody thing. Sacred Immolation damages foes around you, but it also damages the Paladin. Beautiful thing about Sacred Immolation that is when you get to level 19 you can get Sacred Sacrifice. So you're gonna be revived with maximum health. So as long as you have Zeal, you can spam Sacred Sacrifice without any issues. So what you're going to use the most from these abilities is obviously Exalted Focus before the fight. When you're surrounded by enemies, you use Glorious Beacon because it blinds enemies around you, and with upgraded Glorious Beacon it makes them susceptible to damage. And after that, Sacred Immolation to damage all the bastards around you. This also makes you safe, because if you die in the process, you're gonna be revived. Problem is you're gonna receive an injury, but that's a minor setback, considering how much damage you're gonna deal to all of the bastards around you. This is also a very nice skill, because it can heal for a large amount yourself and allies, while also damaging enemy vessels and spirits. Here I'm gonna list passive abilities that I implemented into this build. These are must-haves, others are optional. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory, I'm just gonna cover some of them. Already told you about Sign of Flame. Combat focus is extremely important one because it gives you concentration bonus. Concentration is counter to interrupt. So if you have one concentration point, enemy needs to use 2 interrupt attacks in order to interrupt your casting. Inspiring Triumph is also very good with this build because you're gonna be killing enemies left and right, and with Inspiring Triumph, allies around you will have bonuses all the time because you will be killing enemies all the time. As for the rest of the passives, I went with defensive options to boost resistance towards a certain affliction types, more health and other stuff you can see on the screen, but you don't need to use these that I'm using. As for the gear, I went with medium type armor because it gives us decent amount of survivability. Light armor is also an option if you have a good one to reduce the recovery time. If you have Saint's War armor that grants you second chance, you're pretty much immortal. Sacred Sacrifice, second chance, second wind from athletics, and also Providence passive that revives you if you have enough zeal remaining, will make you immortal. Now for the fun part, testing. My goal here is to kill all of these bastards with only my Paladin and tank that is standing near him and doing fuck all. He just tanks a couple of enemies because there's too many of them. Anyway, I'm starting the fight with Inspired Beacon that immediately blinds everyone around me and also increases the damage they take by 40%. Obviously this is best used when surrounded by enemies. Next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use Sacred Sacrifice. That will do AoE damage, but I will also take some damage. At level 19 it is upgraded to Sacred Sacrifice, so I will get revived if I die, so it's no biggie. Immediately you can see the damage dealt around me, it's pretty damn good. Next to that I tried to cast Light of Pure Zeal to heal myself, but unfortunately I was killed before I got the chance. Doesn't matter, Sacred Sacrifice was active. So here I am back again with 6 Zeal at my disposal, and again I'm gonna use Inspired Beacon. And after that, Sacred Sacrifice again. That's the best thing you can do when surrounded by enemies. You're constantly doing damage to them and yourself, but you will be revived, so there's no issues for you whatsoever. Without even doing any kind of single target attack, I dealt with 3 enemies around me and then killed the big guy with 1 shot, because he already took enough damage from AoE. By the way, guess what? I got revived again. Now to show you the single target power of this build. You put Sworn Enemy on the closest bastard and then use Flames of Devotion. This will annihilate single target enemies, and thanks to the greatsword that you're using, you're gonna be doing damage in a cone. So you can target multiple enemies if they are positioned like that.
just giving them a fish. You can't win. Quick, toss me something else. There's you can't win. Take this. You can't win. Here's something special.
That's really it. Such a simple way of playing Paladin DPS and such an effective way. Couple of things I forgot to mention. In this fight I was level 19, so I did not have Prestige passive. Prestige passive gives you a couple of power levels, so that your abilities are even more powerful. In this battle I was without it. Don't forget to activate Exalted Focus before the fight, and also Savage Attack from your Great Sword before the fight as well. I hope you guys enjoyed the build. If you have any ideas on how to improve it even further, do post in comments. I'm always eager to learn more, and see you all soon.